So every week we do these live streams, and we start by introducing meditation in general, because for a lot of us, this is our first time. So we'll talk briefly about what meditation is, how do we do it, and then we'll do a short breathing meditation. And then we're going to get into our topic for today. Each week we do a different topic. There's a lot you can use meditation for. It's not just about relaxing, even though that's a wonderful component of it. There's a lot of things a lot of insight we can gain by learning how to meditate. So today's topic is looking at some common roadblocks that we come across when we're trying to learn meditation or build a meditation routine, right? There's a lot of sticking points that we seem to kind of come across at different times in our meditation experience. So we're going to look at them and see what we can do to try to overcome them, right? Manage them in a pretty reasonable way. Sound good? All right. If you are new, please, you can ask questions at any time about anything. It doesn't have to be necessarily what I'm talking about right now, but take advantage of the live nature of this live stream, because normally when we meditate, if we're doing like a guided meditation, it's pre-recorded, right? And you can't really ask questions. So if something doesn't make sense, or I don't know, if you missed something I said, right, just ask me, and I'll be happy to answer the question. All right. Okay. So what is meditation? That's how we always start, right? So meditation is a technique to familiarize your mind with something. So like if we think about familiarizing our body with something, we're more used to that. So let's look at that as a kind of analogy, right? So if we want to run a race, right? Maybe we're not a great runner like myself, but I want to run a 5K, right? I'm not used to running. My body's not used to the motions of running, how taxing running can be on your body. And so I might run around the block, and I'm really tired and I'm really sore the next day, right? Probably not doing the 5K. But if I continue to practice, continue to train my muscles, right, eventually running becomes a little easier. It becomes almost as if it becomes more natural to me, right? And I can recover faster. I can run further distances at faster times and all those wonderful things, right? And I can complete my 5K race. Yay. But it takes time to build up to that, right? And what's happening when you're doing that is you're training your body with familiarity in the activity, right? And so meditation is a way of training our mind to become familiar with different things like feelings and emotions, thoughts. So kindness, gratitude, being relaxed, like these are all states of mind that we might not be that familiar with, probably because we don't practice them that much. So this is a way for you to start to practice these things for the purpose of having them come more naturally to you. So people like to ask, for good reason, how does meditation help me relax, right? How is it helping me calm down? Well, meditation isn't like waving a wand and you're relaxed. It's training you to have your mind gravitate towards relaxation because it's more familiar with being relaxed than being not relaxed. That's the concept of meditation, to shift the scales to have your mind be more inclined to relax than not relax. Sounds good. So meditation is kind of like a two-step process. Right. So the first step is we have to relax our busy mind, right? Because our mind is very busy all day long. We're multitasking, thoughts are coming in and out. And when our mind is really busy, it doesn't always operate as efficiently as we might like, right? We start to get upset about things that normally wouldn't upset us. We start to worry about things that we normally wouldn't worry about. You've had those experiences, I'm sure. And so the first thing we want to do is relax our mind, right? Calm our mind a little bit. And then step two is we're going to take that relaxed mind and we're going to purposely use it to think about something. It's called contemplation. We're going to purposely use it to become familiar with something we want to become familiar with, right? And this is the training of meditation, right? So step one is we've got to learn how to relax our mind a little bit, right? And the analogy I love to use is if you imagine you're on a little hike, right? Weather's getting nicer by me, so I'm thinking about hiking, right? I'm going to a beautiful lake, right? It's very still, very calm. I'm looking at the reflection. I'm like, whoa, cool. Flowers, mountain, grass. I think I saw a bird fly by, all in the reflection, right? I can see the reflection very clearly. If it starts to rain, well, unfortunately, bummer for my hike, but the reflection not as clear, right? I can't describe it as clearly. If it really starts to downpour, the wind picks up, I might not be able to see this reflection in the lake any longer. So this is kind of an analogy of our mind. Our mind normally is like the still lake, very calm, very collected, very reasonable, thinking objectively about things, right? All of the stress and anxiety, multitasking, bombardment of stimuli, like all these things that are happening throughout each day, they're like raindrops, and they're obscuring this peaceful reflection in our mind a little bit. So we want to clear away some of the raindrops. That's our first step, right? That's our kind of visualization. We're going to clear away some of the raindrops. Some. All would be nice, but even if we clear away some of the raindrops, what happens? You can see the reflection a little bit better, right? So even if we can clear away some of our distracted thoughts, some of our worries, some of our stressful, thoughts that are bouncing around, we can become a little bit more relaxed, right? We can relax our mind a little bit. Sound good? The method that we use to do this is called single-pointed concentration, right? All that means is you're just thinking about one thing. Are you familiar with thinking about one thing? When do you ever think about one thing? Usually we think we're thinking about one thing, but we're actually thinking about a lot of things. In fact, our mind seems to be in charge of what we think about, right? So our goal here is to start to tell our mind what we want it to think about, right? So we're going to do a breathing meditation to kind of get used to doing this, right? And so breathing meditation from an instructional standpoint, pretty simple. We're just going to focus on our breath moving in and out of our nose. I'll guide it. You listen to what I'm saying. That's my job. And when you notice that your mind is like, I'm going to think about this, right? Something that happened earlier, or somebody said to you, or something you got to do after this meditation class, right? Whenever you notice that your mind has drifted and is thinking about one of those things, just be like, not right now. And then we're going to bring our attention back to breathing, right? So the goal with breathing meditation isn't to never be distracted. Your mind's gonna wander a bit. It happens. Right? It's what a mind does, before we get it really trained well. But the goal of meditation is to notice when it has drifted and be able to bring it back, like gently bring it back. Okay? So that's what we're gonna do. It's sort of like being in the zone. You ever been in the zone at work? That's me typing on my keyboard. You're like, I used to do a lot of Excel charts at work. Right now, sometimes I'd be like super plugged in, like I'd lose track of time. People call my name, I didn't hear it. I forget to eat lunch. I never forget to eat lunch now, but I used to forget to eat lunch. And like all these things that are normally at the forefront of my mind, when you're really in the zone with something, single-pointedly focused on something, what happens? All those other thoughts, there's no room for them. They kind of just start to fade away a little bit, right? So that's what we're going to do intentionally, right? Sometimes we do it unintentionally, but we're going to train ourselves to do it intentionally with breathing meditation. Any questions on meditation in general or breathing meditation before we actually do a breathing meditation? And it's only going to be about 5 minutes, all right? So don't worry, you're not going to be sitting there for an hour. The whole class is an hour, but this little breathing meditation is going to be about 5 minutes, if that. We'll talk more about like how long to meditate later, because this is kind of this is like a pretty hot topic for people when they're getting started. How long do I do this for? We're going to do it for 5 minutes. Okay. If anything comes up, you got a question later, just ask. Doesn't matter when, just ask it. Okay. So sit comfortably, right? I'm in a chair. So if you're in a chair, okay, that's great. You could also be sitting on the floor if you prefer, or on a cushion, or if you're laying down, or you're in your car. I don't know where you are, but it doesn't matter. Wherever you are and whatever you're sitting in or laying down on is fine. Right? You don't have to change anything. Just make sure you're relatively comfortable. We don't want to be uncomfortable. Otherwise, you're going to be thinking about how uncomfortable you are and not your breath. All right. And you can go ahead and close your eyes. This is to help with some of the visual distractions that our eyes tend to wander and look at things. So just go ahead and close your eyes. And we're going to do a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay. All right. Whenever we start a meditation, the first thing we do is check in. Check in with yourself. Ask yourself right now, how am I feeling? Are you tired, energetic, excited, depressed, neutral? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. All that matters is you begin to notice. Begin to notice what your mind is doing. This is called mindfulness. Being aware of what your mind is doing moment to moment. And having checked in, I'd like you now to turn your full attention to your breathing. In and out of your nose. Very gently and very naturally. In and out. You do not need to take big, deep breaths or forcefully exhale the air. Just breathe as you normally would, in and out, and see if you are able to follow your entire in-breath and your entire out-breath. Stay with your breathing as you begin to relax. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose very gently and very naturally. At some point, you may notice your attention is no longer exclusively on your breath. It's thinking about something else. It's wandered. Maybe to something that's happened earlier or something coming up later in the day. Whenever you notice that this has happened, just gently guide your attention back to breathing in and out through your nose very gently and very naturally. And allow yourself to relax. Allow yourself to enjoy sitting here in this moment. Breathing in and breathing out. Following each breath in and following each breath out. Keep bringing your attention back to breathing whenever it drifts. This is meditation. You, right now, are meditating. You are training your mind to relax, to be calm, to access its naturally peaceful state. And you're doing it all on your own, with nothing other than your breath. How wonderful. So just continue breathing in and out gently for a little while longer. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open up your eyes. How'd that go? Any first timers? That was your first experience doing any type of meditation? How'd it go? Easy? Hard? Better than you thought? Worse than you thought? Everyone has different experience. And if you found that to be difficult, it probably shouldn't come as that much a surprise if we're thinking about it, right? Tadara, it was hard. So, of course it's hard. You've never done it before. And we're going to talk about this a lot today. This is going to be one of our topics, right? Oh, very nice. Great. All right. So everyone went good. All right. Everyone's going to have a different experience. I'm glad if it went well. If it was hard, don't worry about it, because a lot of this has to do with we're just not familiar. Remember talking about running the race and getting our muscles familiar with running? Well, I don't know about you, but before I started meditating, I never did this. I never really sat quietly and tried to focus on one thing. And when I noticed my mind drifted, I never did that. We just go through the day, right? And so it's going to take some time, right? Something I always like to mention, right, is a lot of times, first-time meditators, they'll say things to me after we, do like a breathing meditation like this. I feel like my mind's busier when I meditate, right? You're just noticing how busy your mind is all day long. Kind of exhausting to think about. Your mind is constantly bouncing all over the place. So we're doing a training here, right? Meditation is training your mind, and it's going to take some time, just like training for a race. Oh, I got a lot of comments to catch up on. Tadara, I missed your question. How long does it take to learn how to meditate? Everyone is going to have a different experience of how long it takes to learn. Like, learning meditation doesn't take a long time. Becoming familiar with meditating to the point where it becomes effortless, which is where we want to kind of go, that can take some time. But we're going to talk a lot about that today. So that's a really good question. Margaret, very relaxing. Great. Your mind wandered often, so I had to bring it back. So Margaret, that's exactly what you should be doing, right? The goal of meditation is not to never have your mind wander, right? Especially when we're just beginning. It's developing the ability to notice what your mind is doing. Remember in the beginning, we talked about mindfulness, noticing what your mind is up to. Well, if you're kind of like not present and not noticing what your mind is doing, it's going to wander and you're not going to notice it. But if you're noticing that your mind has wandered, you're being present, right? And you're able to bring it back. That's meditation. That's the training. Great. Dorothy, relaxing more each week. Great. That's exactly what I want to hear. How often should one meditate? Tadara, these are amazing questions. I got news for you. We're going to talk a lot about that too today. All right. I'm going to get into it. So if you guys have any other questions about breathing meditation or anything that we did, you can ask at any time. But I'm going to move on to our topic, which Tadara's spoiling because there's a lot of things he's asking that we're going to talk about today. Ellen, for me, my meditation experience may depend on how anxious or busy I was before I began to meditate. Ellen, yeah. So the state of our mind, right? How do I describe this? So the analogy I like to use for when our mind is agitated, so whether that be anxious or worried or busy, whatever, it's sort of like a forest fire, right? Now, if we can catch a forest fire when it's just one flame, what happens? We pour a bucket of water on it and it's done, no problem, right? So if we let it fester, if we let our anxiety fester, all of the busyness in our mind fester throughout the day, and then we try to come home, sometimes it's like the fire has spread and we have a hard time relaxing, right? So we'll talk a little bit about this today too, but one piece of advice that I do have is when you're learning to meditate, try to find a time of day that you're generally not that stressed out, right? Because we want to learn how to do this when our mind is not super in like panic mode. And then we can, when we get better, more acquainted with meditation, then we can use it in those times too. but good to practice when we're not like super agitated, because as you've experienced, it can be pretty difficult, right? All right, great. I was going to say question, but it wasn't a question. Great statement. Okay, so today we're talking about some common roadblocks, problems that we run into when we're trying to meditate. And all of these kind of problems, the root thing that's going on that's causing us to fall off our meditation routine is a lack of consistency, really, right? So when we are consistent with something, whether it's meditation or running, right? Gradually we make progress. If we're inconsistent, the progress doesn't seem to come very naturally. Tadara, I will try. I have 5 children age 16. All right, you need some meditation. Here we go. So consistency is super important. It's the most important thing when we're learning how to meditate. It's honestly the most important thing when we're learning anything, right? Because consistency builds familiarity. Muscle memory, right? Like, I don't know if you know how to ride a bike, but, that was hard to learn, right? You're falling over. We had training wheels. But now if you've been riding a bike for a while, you can just get on the bike and go. You don't have to think about it, right? Or like skiing or something like that. All these things that our body and our mind were not familiar with. And now we're familiar with them to the point where we can do them pretty naturally, right? So that comes with consistency, right? If you were going to train for the race, but you only ran one time every 3 months, you're probably not going to make that much progress. But if you ran for, even 10 minutes or something every day, you're going to start to make some progress through consistency. Consistency is also important because it normalizes things into our routine, right? Brushing your teeth is pretty normal, right? Taking a shower, pretty normal. Having a cup of coffee in the morning, pretty normal, right? We don't have to think too much about it. We just kind of gravitate to do it. It's not a big deal. We're not like, gotta brush my teeth. It's just like, maybe just do it. It's part of our routine. So we want meditation to become part of our routine. We want meditation, which right now we have to put a good amount of effort into doing. We want it to become effortless, right? How awesome would that be if this thing that teaches us how to relax and become familiar with all these positive qualities in our mind, if it was effortless for us to like engage in that and practice it? That's what we want to do. And that comes from consistent practice, right? So those are 2 pretty important reasons why we want consistency in our meditation practice. And we're going to talk about like kind of really what breaks us out of this consistency. Let me catch up. Toshida, that is my experience too. Oh, you guys are totally aligned. That's pretty much everyone's experience, right? And really, it's like I said, this analogy of the forest fire, right? If our mind's super busy, right, it's been festering a while, we're thinking about that thing that somebody said to us, we've been thinking about it all day, it becomes very difficult for us to like not think about it, right? But that's a training in mindfulness would help this. Being like, essentially, we want to notice when we're getting agitated or notice when we're getting anxious early, because then it's easier for us to deal with it, just like the forest fire analogy. Hence the forest fire analogy. Okay. So what kind of things do you think break our routine, break our meditation routine? Like, what kind of hurdles do we come across? There's three main categories that I'm going to talk about today. The first, and we're going to spend the most time on it, and you'll know why as soon as I say it. Oh, Tadara, noise. That's a great one. We're going to talk about that. Procrastination, right? Basically, the definition of procrastination is when you say to yourself, I know this is important, but now is not the right time, right? I know this thing is important. I know I should do it, but not now, right? That's procrastination, right? So procrastination is a massive hurdle, right? And there's a lot of different ways we kind of put things off, ways we procrastinate. And a lot of the things you guys are talking about right now fall into this category. Kavitha, sometimes I feel like it's not doing anything for me. Oh my God. Are you guys reading my mind? Did you guys see my notes? We're going to talk about all these things. This is great. Margaret, life. Yeah. So Margaret, great one, right? What does that equate to? Time, right? I don't have time is in my experience, not being committed. That's another good one, Tadaro. Not having time is probably, I would say, the most common thing I hear. I don't have time, right? So if we're finding that our mind is kind of in this state where we, think we don't have time to do this, right? Well, then the first thing we need to do is kind of evaluate, well, what do we think is the appropriate amount of time to meditate? Because most of us believe that we have to meditate for a very long time to see benefits. This is not true at all, right? Consistency is the way you will see benefits meditating. Not necessarily the amount of time you're meditating, like per session, right? So if you find that you're saying to yourself, I don't have time. Well, maybe let's reduce the time commitment that you have been allotting to do this, right? So maybe instead of 5-minute breathing meditation, you do 2 minutes. Maybe that's too long. Maybe you do 1 minute. Maybe you do 30 seconds. It really doesn't matter. Doing it consistently is what's going to kind of bear the fruits of meditation, right? So like, I don't know, sometimes we think we don't have time, but then we're scrolling on Instagram for 5 minutes. Like, take a minute out of that time and just close your eyes and focus on your breath and then go back to Instagram, right? You can do it. Oh, Jessica, hunger. That's a good one. Like distractions, really, right? Not being committed. Hey, these are all great ones. We can't really manage time, but we can manage ourselves. Yeah, I mean, like, time's going. We're not stopping it. The clock is turning, right? But we have to kind of be honest with ourselves. Like, do we really not have time, or are we just not interested in doing this? Ooh, right? Kind of a tough thing to be honest with ourselves about, right? So somebody said noise, right? That is a very, very common roadblock for people when they're learning how to meditate. It's too noisy in my house, right? I think it was Tadara said he's got five kids. That's noisy in there, right? Hold on, Ellen. Are these reasons our way of finding a reason not to meditate, or find fault with meditation instead of ourselves? Well, it's kind of getting at the same thing, right? We have a habit of putting things off, right? We think now is not the right time. We'll talk about how we can rectify procrastination. But sometimes we put things off, right, because we're discouraged and we don't think we can do it. We'll talk a little bit about that today too. And sometimes it's just that we want to do something else, right? So there's so many reasons why we tend to put off things that, truly, when we think about them, are important to us, like learning how to relax more, learning how to be happier. That's why you're here, right? Meditation is good for that. Helps with that. Right? If we think about it, we want to do it, but we always kind of seem to put it off, right? What was I talking about? Noise? Yeah. So, okay. It's too noisy in my house. Very common thing to say. Well, and we ask ourselves, do we think it's necessary to have perfect quiet to meditate? Do we think that's kind of like a requirement? Perfect quiet, right? The goal of meditation is to be able to use meditation in our normal life. Is your normal life quiet? Mine's not. There's cars on the street right now, right? Our normal life, moment to moment, not usually that quiet. So if we kind of think we need perfect quiet in order to meditate, right? Well, then anytime any noise is there, we're going to get discouraged, right? Our mind's all of a sudden going to be like, I can't do this. There's noise. But really, we can meditate when there is noise, right? It might be a little harder if there's a lot of noise, but we don't need perfect quiet. You just sitting down, even if it's noisy and you're having trouble focusing, you just sitting down and doing this, that you're getting your meditation in for the day, right? It's not always going to feel wonderful, right? But consistent practice is really important. Let me catch up. Life does get in the way when we are trying to do for ourselves. So look, there's going to be commitments, right? That's why I'm saying that we got to be honest with ourselves about what can we actually commit to and consistently do, and only you can answer that. So it's about learning to find some peace in our lives regardless of what is going on around us. Yes. So Kavitha, that is definitely the kind of goal of meditation, and one of the great realizations that we come to by meditating is that we can start to be a little bit more happy, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more calm, a little bit more reasonable, kinder, all these things, independent of the things that are going on externally, right? So internally, we can work on internal, even when external stuff might not be ideal, like noise, right? Question, do meditation apps help? Oh, now I actually think you guys are reading my mind. I was literally just about to talk about this. Do meditation apps help, or do they distract or addict? Whoa! Margaret, you get an A+ for today. Wow. Awesome. Okay. So meditation apps are great. There's a lot of them out there. I was going to suggest some people listen to music when they meditate if it's very noisy in their house. These are all great things. But, this is a big but. Oh, Carol. Kate teaches us that breathing is enough on our own. Yes. So, Margaret, exactly what you said. You get kind of addicted to it. I like to call it attached. You get attached. Attachment is when you think you need this thing to be happy or like to be able to meditate. So I need this app to meditate, right? No, you don't need an app to meditate, right? All you need is your breath. You got everything you need. I know it's not a great business proposition for myself, being a meditation teacher, but you don't even need me. So, if you're going to use an app, go for it. If you're going to use music because it's noisy, go for it. But also try to consciously schedule some times where you don't use them to remind yourself that you can do this, right? Like, what if if you're like out at work or something, and you don't have access to this app? I don't know, right? You're just going to be like, well, I don't have my app. I guess I'll just be miserable. No. You can do this. So weave in sometimes. Really good question, right? Also, just kind of with the noisy thing, since this is a pretty common, you don't have to be in your house. Some people, I've met a lot of people who meditate in their car, not while driving, right? But like, I don't know, after work when they're in the parking lot, quick little 30-second, 1-minute meditation, then the driveway before you walk in the door, right? So we got to be creative with being creative and also being honest with ourselves about what is going to set me up for success, right? Or like laying down before we go to bed, right? Lay down before bed. You don't fall asleep instantly, unless I guess you have narcolepsy or something. But laying down before bed, you can do a brief little meditation there, right? Susan, it's kind of like thinking a weight loss pill means you don't need to commit to eating healthy, regular exercise, and not. Yes. Right. Exactly. Right. Sometimes I like to compare meditation to like taking Advil for a knee problem as opposed to like getting surgery or something, right? To like really fix the issue, right? So we can take Advil, but the issue's still there, right? So meditation is kind of like a slow burn, but it really will change our thought process, which is really what we're after. Lasting happiness, not temporary happiness, right? Lasting weight loss, not temporary weight loss, right? Exactly. Really good analogy. So laying down before bed, sometimes people like to do it because that's their personal time. That's the time they have to themselves, right? Another one for procrastination is I'm too tired. right? Talking about laying down, we get sleepy, right? So if we're finding that we're always tired at the time that we're supposed to meditate, well, maybe we need to find a time of day where you can meditate that you aren't tired, right? So for me, I'm not a morning person. I'm terrible in the mornings. It takes me forever to get out of bed. I'm always late. I'm like stressed out already. Mornings is like not a great time for me to meditate, right? Because I'm already thinking about a million things, right? So for me, I started meditating after work, like at night, but not too late because I fall asleep. So you got to find that like where's that perfect spot for you that you're going to be able to commit to this regularly. Set yourself up for success, and you have to think about this and be honest with yourself. And then, you know what? Be okay with it. You know, if all your friends are like, I love meditating in the morning, you don't have to meditate in the morning. It's okay. Susan, and the Advil does not address the inflammation that causes the pain. Yeah. It's a cool analogy. I like to use it a lot. I don't think I've used it a lot here, but I do use it. Okay. So these are a couple little pain points for procrastination for us, right? I don't have time. What happens? I don't have time, so I'll do it later. I'll have time later, right? It's too noisy. It won't be noisy later, right? I'm too tired, right? These are all the kind of things we say to put it off, right? So what is the antidote for this kind of procrastination, right? So when we procrastinate, we are making an assumption. And the assumption we are making is that we will have time to do this later, right? But as unpleasant as it might be to think about, we have no idea if we will have the opportunity to do this later, right? We see it all the time in the news. Things happen, right? Life is pretty uncertain. So now is the best opportunity you have, because now is the time that you're guaranteed, right? So thinking about this, contemplating this, familiarizing yourself with this truth that, you know what, I don't know if I'll have as good an opportunity to do this in the future, helps break the chains of procrastination, right? So this is a good thing to think about if we find ourselves trapped in procrastination. We did a whole class on procrastination, so you can go check that out too if you want. Susan, we are a society that looks for a quick fix rather than investigate what the causes are and working backwards. Yes, Susan, and we're getting into that now. This is weird. Honestly, this is very strange. I think you guys are looking at my notes. Okay, so that's procrastination. Another roadblock we come across is a category I'll call disinterest, right? So the definition of disinterest, right? What is that? When we become kind of increasingly attracted to other things that are not our goal, right? So if our goal is meditating, then we become more interested in not meditating, right? Essentially, we start to view our goal as getting in the way of these other things, right? So I don't want to meditate, then I can't watch the next episode of this show that I really want, right? I really want to watch. Or I don't know. There's a million things that we think about, right? And what's happening when we do this is we're making a mental negative link that meditation, or our goal, like when we're talking about meditation, but this can be true for anything that we're trying to accomplish or learn. We make a mental negative link. Meditation equals preventing me from doing these things that I like. Meditation equals bad is what we're really kind of training ourselves, right? And we become disinterested in meditation, right? It's not the notes. I think we just know you now. Tashina, I think you might be right. I'm going to have to, I got some surprises left here. So when we become disinterested, we start to say things, and this is another common roadblock, right? Meditation is boring. I was laughing at that one. I thought that too for a long time, right? We're so addicted to the stimulation. Who's saying the quick fix stuff, right? Like I want to fix this quickly, right? We're so addicted to like quick forms of stimulation that when we sit and just breathe, we're like bored, right? What would you rather be doing? Would you rather be watching a show? Think of all these things. They're all like kind of stimulating things, right? So sometimes we get into the habit of labeling. Disinterest is all about labeling. Labeling. Meditation equals boring, right? And then our mind, we talk about familiarity, our mind becomes familiar with thinking of meditation as boring, and then we don't want to do it, right? Or another big one, probably more common than meditation is boring, is meditation is a waste of time. Who said? I think it was Kavitha, or I think it was Kavitha, but I'm not sure. Somebody said that thinking this isn't doing anything for me, right? Good one. That we're wasting our time, right? So something interesting to think about, at least I think it's interesting to think about, is why do we think sitting down and focusing on our breath is a waste of time, right? Isn't that weird? Like, we feel that we are wasting our time if we're not doing a million things at once, if we're not multitasking, like we're just wasting our time, we're not being productive enough, right? Like, we're forgetting that meditation is very productive, right? The benefits of meditation are extremely important, right? It is completely not a waste of time, but we have this kind of instinct that sitting quietly and focusing on our breath is like a waste of time. It's very interesting why we think that way. We're kind of trained to multitask, right? And so when we don't multitask, we think we're wasting our time. Susan, there's also something to be said for not flying in off the wheel without considering consequences, deciding why something is important to you, and keeping your focus on the prize. Yes, 100%. I like to call this steadfastness. We're going to talk about that too. Guys, stop reading my notes. Seriously. Kavitha, I think I'm looking for it to fix all my problems. So when I don't see any big changes, I question if maybe I should do something else. Yes. This is extremely common, and a great segue into the next kind of category of roadblock. But yeah, we start to, because meditation is a slow burn, right? It takes time. You've been thinking one way for X number of years. It takes a lot of effort to think a different way, right? So it takes time, and sometimes we get impatient and we mislabel meditation as a waste of time. So disinterest is all about negative labeling, right? What's the antidote for disinterest? The antidote for disinterest is contemplating, thinking about the benefits of meditation or our goal. Who said, well, why are we doing this? Right? Why are we doing this? What is your reason for being here? Is it to be less stressed? Is it to be less anxious? Is it to learn something new? To expand your way? Whatever it is, right? Think about, why are you here, right? And then, why do you want that? Why do you want to be less anxious? Why do you want to be less stressed? Why do you want to be happier? What is that going to do for you in your life, right? So this is a really important thing to think about, because what we're doing when we contemplate the benefits of meditation is, instead of making a negative mental link that meditation equals waste of time or meditation equals boring or bad or whatever, like meditation equals beneficial, meditation equals happy, meditation equals less anxious, meditation equals like less stress, right? Our mind becomes familiar with that. And what happens? We naturally want to engage in meditation, right? If we firmly believe in the benefits of something, we'll naturally be gravitated to practice it. And so when you're doing meditation, like, for the people who said, hey, I was able to relax a little bit, remember that, because that's really important. You were able to relax a little bit by literally just sitting here and doing nothing and just breathing. That's kind of incredible when you think about it. Yeah. And so you can contemplate that. That's a benefit, right? You're able to do this. Oh, I relax a little bit, right? Familiarizing your mind with meditation equals beneficial is going to help us not be disinterested in meditation, if that makes sense. Okay. And then the third category is discouragement. And Kavitha, you were talking about this. Susan, to multitask means to spread your focus so thin that nothing gets its due attention. Yes, indeed, Susan, right? And we're kind of like, I don't know, at least in like our Western culture here, more. If I'm not doing a million things, I'm not doing anything, right? So we're kind of training ourselves day in, day out to do that. And so we have to learn a different way of thinking. It can be challenging, right? Okay. So discouragement, right? What's the definition of discouragement? So these three things, procrastination, disinterest, discouragement, they're kind of like a wheel, right? And we're like stuck in the wheel, right? We're like, I know this is important, but now's not the right time. Procrastination, right? And then what happens when we procrastinate? We do other things, and we do other things so often, and our meditation so little that we become more interested in other things and less interested in meditation. Disinterest, right? And discouragement is when we kind of recognize that we've been procrastinating, that we've been disinterested, and we feel incapable of accomplishing our goal, right? And we say things like, I can't meditate. Never said that? I hear that all the time. I know meditation works, but I can't do it. Not me. Not this guy. It's not just for meditation too. I can't be a writer. I can't be an artist. All these goals that we have, right? I can't meditate, right? When we say that, when we start to believe that, like I can't meditate, we're making a mental negative link, not that like meditation equals waste of time, but like I equal incapable, like that. And so that really is a very deep concern, right? Because we're starting to develop a negative self-image. Ellen, Keith, you have guided me in meditation accurately. Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, my goal is like meditation is very doable, right? Sometimes we think it's not doable. It's very doable. It's hard, especially when you're anxious and trying to remember to calm down. Yes, Hilda, 100%, which is why I totally recommend training in meditation when you are not in the throes of anxiety, when you're getting started. You'll become good enough at meditation to use it there, but when we're training, it's good to do it when we're feeling relatively okay. Why? Because we don't want to get discouraged, right? We want to set ourselves up for success, right? We don't want to start thinking, I can't do this, because you can do this, right? The reality is, all things we have learned have taken time. When you were a baby, I don't know, you probably can't remember, but really, you could guess, when you were a baby, walking was pretty tough, right? It's not like, you're like, oh, I'm going to walk now. And then you just have this gorgeous gait walking down the hallway of your home, right? No, you're like wobbling all over the place. You're like falling all over yourself. It's like, looks really awkward when a baby's starting to walk, right? Doesn't look like, they're not like a great form, but you didn't give up, right? You never give up. In fact, what's really interesting? When you're a kid, you're a baby, the concept of can't doesn't even exist, right? This idea of I can't, it doesn't, it's not even something that when you're like a baby like that, right? I can't is a learned behavior, right? Negative self-image is a learned behavior. You can do this. It may take time. There may be some growing pains. It may not always work great, right? But you can do this by being consistent in your practice, just like you were able to walk by consistently trying, right? So the antidote for discouragement is patience, twofold. One is patience. And we hate this word. Like everyone hates the word patience. Like sometimes I teach one-on-one classes, right? And sometimes we're like focusing on patience. I could see it in their face, right? They're like, oh. We don't like this word. We want things fixed fast and now. Susan, I'm so utterly happy I found this class. Thank you, Susan. I'm so glad that you're here. Carol, I'm glad you're here too. So patience, right? We don't like this word, right? We want things fixed fast. We want things fixed now. don't want to spend a lot of time doing them. We just want them done, right? So we need to start to look for small wins, right? If we're having some trouble with this, right? If we're having trouble with discouragement, we need to look for small wins. And remember when I said earlier, when you did a breathing meditation and some of you were like, hey, I could relax a little bit, right? Or somebody, I forget who it was, said, it was hard, but I was able to notice and bring my attention back. That's a small win, okay? Maybe you're still, your mind's a little all over the place, but you were able to do that. Take that small win and tuck it away in your memory. That way you can recall it, right? Small insights. Hey, I'm able to relax a little bit. I wonder if I could relax a little bit more, right? Build upon these small wins. This helps with our patience, and it helps with not getting discouraged when things aren't going as fast as we want or as well as we want, right? Kavitha, it helps to not put any goals toward meditation, but rather think of it as I'm learning a new skill. Yes, Kavitha, exactly, right? So we're learning a new skill, and everyone's going to learn it at a different pace. And as long as you are practicing, you are meditating, okay? And you are building to the future, building towards a happier you, right? So patience is really important as an antidote to discouragement. Also, steadfastness. Do you know what steadfastness is? Steadfastness basically is like pacing yourself, right? But really, truly, it's being honest with yourself about what is the right pace for me. What is the right amount of time to meditate? Where is the right place? What is the right time of day? Being honest with that and then being okay with it, right? We're constantly comparing ourselves to other people. I don't know. Kavitha meditates for an hour and a half. I only meditate for, 3 minutes. It doesn't matter, as long as you're doing it consistently, you're making gains. That's what we want, consistency, right? Steadfastness, being okay with you is really important. You know the old tortoise and the hare analogy, right? Well, the hare, he's super fast, right? He gets tired, right? The tortoise is kind of slow, but he makes it to the finish line. We want to make it to the finish line. And the way we're going to do that is with steadfastness, right? So these three categories, procrastination and all of the kind of sub things we talked about, and disinterest and all the kind of subtopics we talked about, and discouragement and all the kind of subtopics we talked about, you can think about, where am I in those? Which one of those do I seem to get hung up on? For me, I'm big procrastinator. So a lot of focus has gone on that area for me. But we can think about what area we need to work on, and then try to incorporate, we talked about kind of the antidote, right? Try to incorporate that into your daily routine, right? So if it's disinterest, if you're finding it's a waste of time, right? Spend some time thinking about why you're here at this meditation class, why you want to be less anxious or less stressed, right? Think about the benefits of doing this, right? Get excited about the benefits of doing this, right? And that'll help you combat your disinterest, right? Okay. Hopefully this was interesting. This topic, whatever gets you there, Carol. I love that. Whatever gets you there. Yeah. The goal is the finish line, right? Okay, I want to do a quick meditation. And this one's going to start similar to what we did before. We're going to do a breathing meditation, right? Step 1, relax our mind. And then step 2, we're going to contemplate a little bit. And this part, you just listen to what I'm saying. We're going to do kind of a visualization. And this thing we're going to look at is steadfastness, right? Pacing ourselves, right? Okay, good. Awesome questions today. Awesome contributions by everyone. This is honestly why I love doing these live streams. This is way more interesting than if I were to do a pre-recorded video where I have no interaction with anyone. This is wonderful. I love it. Dorothy, thank you for helping me relax. Thank you for being here. I couldn't do this without you guys. Honestly, you guys is such an awesome community of people here. It's been so cool. Okay, let's do. We're gonna do a meditation on steadfastness. Susan, your dog is listening too. All right, cool. Let's let him relax a little bit. So sit comfortably. Close your eyes again. Make sure you're, not uncomfortable. And we're going to do a little bit longer, not too much longer. We're going to do a meditation on steadfastness, okay? Once again, let's start by checking in. How are you feeling now? Different than before? The same? Whatever it is, just notice. We're just noticing what our mind is up to. And having checked in, you can once again turn your full attention to your breathing in and out of your nose. Very gentle breaths, very natural breaths, in and out, as you begin to relax. Breathing in and out, following each in-breath, following each out-breath. And if you notice that your mind has wandered, just bring it back. Gently, without judgment, bring your attention back to breathing in and out. Very gently, very naturally. When we focus on our breathing single-pointedly, we sometimes notice things about our breath that we hadn't noticed before. Maybe we notice how the air feels kind of cool as we breathe in and warmer as we breathe out. Or we notice how our shoulders are rising and falling with each breath, our whole body moving, our whole body breathing. When you are single-pointedly focused on something, you begin to notice some subtle joys in that thing. You are beginning to find some subtle joys in breathing in and out. How wonderful. How wonderful that you are able to do this, that you have the opportunity to learn how to meditate, to learn how to relax yourself with nothing other than your breath. How wonderful that you have that capability. So after breathing in this way for a little while, maybe we're starting to feel a little more relaxed, even just slightly. We're settling into our chair or a cushion. Our mind is clearing a little bit. We can then use this slightly more relaxed mind to investigate something, to contemplate something, to familiarize ourselves with something we want to learn, something important to us. Today, we're going to contemplate the idea of steadfastness, pacing. So just follow along with what I'm saying. I'd like you to bring to mind the image of a piece of wood floating in the ocean. Just imagine it. What does this piece of wood look like as it's floating in the ocean? There's nothing else around, just the piece of wood and the ocean. And this piece of wood is riding each wave closer and closer to the shoreline, towards its destination, towards its goal. Some of these waves, they're very gentle, and they push the piece of wood just a little bit. Some of these waves, they can be a little violent. Large waves, pushing the piece of wood further. This piece of wood is not trying to fight the ocean. It's not trying to fight the pace at which it needs to move in order to reach its goal. The piece of wood understands steadfastness. Regardless of how gentle or not gentle the waves are, the piece of wood will get to the shoreline eventually if it just consistently moves with the ocean at the ocean's pace, at the pace that works for it. Now, I'd like you to imagine that you are that piece of wood. Just imagine it in your mind. You are that piece of wood. And on that shoreline is your goal, whatever your goal is for being here in this meditation class, whether it's to be less anxious, whether it's to be kinder, to have gratitude, to have a positive self-image, whatever it is, to be less stressed, whatever it is. Just imagine that on the shoreline is your goal. And you are the piece of wood flowing gently towards it. Consistent effort towards reaching your goal. Not fighting. Not fighting the natural flow of what is going to get you to the shoreline. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So that was kind of similar, or at least it started similar, right? And then we added a little special dash of contemplation in there, where we were relaxing our mind and then using our relaxed mind to think about steadfastness. Think about, and we used an image, right, of this piece of wood floating in the ocean. How we have to start to learn to be comfortable with the pace at which we are moving towards our goal, right? As long as we are honest with ourselves and we've determined that this is the right pace, well, then you're doing perfectly. We'll just allow ourselves consistent practice, consistent motion towards our goal. Carol, that was superb. Kavitha, very relaxing. Great. Yeah, sometimes I always get worried about that one because sometimes people have fear of water. But I think the imagery is good. The imagery is it can be kind of visceral. Like there's a great quote, like both waves in the ocean, both gentle and not gentle, they're both equally water. Like we're just kind of letting ourselves flow at a good pace, right? Really good. Tadaro, thank you. Is different. Great. Awesome. That's kind of what we're after. Just a different way of thinking, different experience. Kavitha, is it okay to use images when I meditate, even though it takes me away from my breath? Yeah. So meditation isn't just focusing on your breath. You can meditate on anything. All meditation means is you're focusing on something single pointedly. So if you'd like to focus on an image, if you focus on the image so single pointedly that all the other distractions start to fade away, you're meditating. Doesn't matter, right? They call that what is the object of your meditation. So for us, the object of our meditation was our breath, right? And then the object of our meditation was an image, right? But it's still meditation, right? So Kavitha, yes, you can do that. Margaret, I can feel myself bobbing up and down in the water. Awesome. Yeah. So once we really, and Margaret, that is you being really kind of plugged into this image, right? You're meditating on this image so much so that like you're feeling yourself being there, right? Awesome. Very, very cool experience. Oh, I didn't get the term. It's steadfastness. Yes, like Toshida wrote, steadfastness. Or just pacing yourself. That's easier. Steadfastness is like fancy word. I'm looking for practicing in your next session. Jar, I'm glad you're here. Great segue into my closing statements. That thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed this. Each week we do something new. Next week I had 2 ideas I was throwing around. One, somebody had asked me to do meditation for chronic pain, which I thought would be kind of cool. And then there was another idea, which I'm now forgetting. Oh, yeah. Like, sort of like what Kavitha was asking, like doing meditation that aren't traditionally sitting down and focusing on our breath. Like, what are some other ones we can do? We did this before and I got a good reception. Like remember I don't know if you were here, the drinking water meditation. Oh, that was a fun one, right? So there's 2 I'm throwing around, but each week we'll do something different. And come back. Come back and keep practicing. Good way to keep a routine going, right? Chronic pain, Toshida. Okay, maybe. All right, we'll do chronic pain. Toshida, your wish is my command. Are all your previous classes available to go back to and watch? Yes. All of my previous classes are on my YouTube channel. This channel that you're watching currently. You can subscribe to it and that'll let you know when I'm going live. Very helpful for me too. Lets YouTube know like, hey, people are interested in this. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, that'd be awesome. But yes, all my videos are available. You can watch them at your leisure. And if you are like, hey, meditation is for me, I like it. All right. This is going good. I do one-on-one classes. I also do stuff for work. So if you're like, hey, bring in the meditation guy for work. It'll get us out of work and we can relax. That's a great idea. I'd like to be there. But I do like one-on-one classes over Zoom. So if that's something you're interested in, just email me and we'll figure out a time that works. I'll put my email in the chat right now. It's keith@meditationbreaks.com. meditationbreaks.com. Gotta spell it right. Okay, let me catch up. Chronic pain. Oh, all right, let's do it. Many thanks, Keith. Have a great night, restful sleep, and a wonderful day tomorrow. Ellen, thank you for being here. Thank you for the kind words. Appreciate it. Rebecca, what time next week? Same time, 6:30 Mountain Time, which is 8:30 Eastern Time. Nobody knows what Mountain Time is. 8:30 Eastern Time in the States. Oh, Tadaro, your mom has knee pain. Yeah, meditation is very good for chronic pain. Very good for chronic pain. Margaret, can you share your email? Yes, I shared it right there. Let me double check that I spelled it right. It looks good to me. Yeah, Margaret, email me if you're interested in doing some one-on-one work. One-on-one's great for like really drilling down to something that you're struggling with. This is kind of like a cookbook, right? I'm throwing a bunch of recipes at you, but there might be one recipe that you want to focus on, so that's good to do. Chronic pain, another chronic pain. Whoa! All right, it's committed. We're doing it, right? Susan, thank you for being here. Thank you for the kind words. You're a great addition to this awesome community. Thank you. Margaret, you're in Australia? Oh, you're doing a little morning meditation. I like it. That's so cool. Yeah, I get a good amount of people from Australia because I guess, it's morning there. It's all like a good time to meditate. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening or morning if you are Margaret. And I'll see you next week. All right. Take care.